How much money is enough? Depends how crazy you want to be. Neither crippling poverty nor billionaire weirdness. Here's what centuries of wisdom say about finding the safe and sane middle. Written and read by yours truly, Oakie McDoakie. Screw-ups and all. This last summer, I wrote an essay about how I discovered my own sense of enough. It's pretty spare. Poverty-level income, but with no rent, utilities, or debts. But I'm hardly normal. Very few people want to live in a one-room, off-grid cabin with no running water. So what does enough look like for everyone else? Hard to say, since it varies by temperament and circumstance, but we do have some clues. Most of us know what not enough feels like. Few people are financially comfortable their whole lives. Most of us have been broke or close to it. We know the stress of not being able to afford the basics, or that sharp fear that if we lose our job, everything could unravel by Thursday. Get poor enough, and your health collapses, family breaks apart, and desperation makes you do things you never thought you'd do. Forget about happiness at that point. You're just trying to stay afloat. So at what income does that fear ease up? Depends on the person, but researchers often point to the mid to high five figures for U.S. residents. A solid middle-class income. You don't get everything you want by a long shot, but maybe you no longer feel that sword dangling over your head. Economists like Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel winner no less, and Matthew Killingsworth have been arguing about this for years. And the best they can tell us is that the happiness level's out somewhere in the you're not panicking every morning range. Depending on how you slice the data, they land that anywhere between about 75,000 and a few hundred thousand. Fuzzy as hell, but that's social science for you. It depends on where you live, who you support, how healthy you are, and how well you sleep at night. Whatever the number, those 5 or 6 figure thresholds are about climbing out of the hole and getting your life on solid ground. But then comes the weird part. When does more money start to make life worse? And oh, yes, it can. Just look at the super rich. Actors, moguls, tech bros. The bulk baby oil. The cat-faced plastic surgery. The pet rockets. The yoni eggs. Happy people don't do weird shit like this. Years ago, I knew a doctor, a hypertension specialist, who treated Mexico's 1%. This was concierge medicine. Hours with each client, sometimes dinner invitations. He told me that not one of them was happy. All miserable bastards, he said. Every single one. Seems there really is a point where too much money warps your world. And this isn't new wisdom. Proverbs 38 pleads, "Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me." Roughly 3,000 years ago, the writer was already warning us about the extremes. Daniel Defoe picked up the theme back in 1719 with Robinson Crusoe. Most folks remember the goats in the island, but that's only about 2/3 of the book. The deeper story is about a hard-headed man who takes decades and several near-death experiences to learn the sweet spot in life is to be prosperous, but not stinking rich. At the start, Crusoe is the third son in a comfortably middle-class family in York. His parents want him to become a lawyer, settle down, and enjoy a steady, pleasant life. Crusoe wants none of that. He's itching to chase fortune across the globe and become an international merchant. His father tries to warn him. The middle state, he says, is the happiest, free from the misery of poverty and the madness of wealth. The wise man's prayer is not for poverty or riches, but for moderation, tranquility, and security. Sounds a lot like Proverbs 38, doesn't it? But Crusoe's young and restless, so he ignores his father. He heads to sea and spends the next 35 years getting rolled by fate. Besides 28 years on a desert island, he's nearly drowned twice, enslaved in Morocco, almost eaten by cannibals, ravaged by tropical disease, and chased by wolves in the Pyrenees. And that's not the whole list. He's 55 by the time he makes it back to England. Older, wiser, and, ironically, wealthy from a Brazilian plantation he started years before. But he sure did do it the hard way. I reflected upon all the good advice of my father, he says, and how miserable I had made myself by wandering from him. Maybe studying for the bar exam wouldn't have been so bad after all. In my early 20s, my friend Jim's dad, call him Chuck, gave us similar advice. Not the biblical or moral version, but the practical kind. One night, Chuck took us out for Mexican food. Jim and I were young and stupid, and dreaming out loud about how astronomically wealthy we wanted to be, and how we'd spend it. Chuck, who knew people up and down the wealth ladder, coming from a moderately wealthy family himself, a top-tier law school graduate, and a Fortune 500 VP, just shook his head. "I wouldn't want more than $10 billion," he said. "That's enough that you're secure and can enjoy the finer things, but you're not so rich that charities, politicians, and scammers are pestering you. I might add, you're also less interesting to blackmailers and kidnappers." In today's money, that's a little over $20 million. Invest it conservatively and withdraw 4% per year, and you're looking about $800,000 in annual income. Enough for a nice home, nice vacations, private school for the kids, medical security, and no need for yacht lawyers. And importantly, you're not rich enough to live in a distortion field. You'll still shop in stores with cartwheels that wobble. You'll still meet regular people who aren't your employees. You can't afford sycophants. In other words, you can still be human. Now, $20 million might sound like huge money, but here's some perspective. That's about the value of a small-town Toyota dealership or a modest seaside family hotel. It's the kind of business a person of humble beginnings can build in a few decades of hard work. It's not Richie Rich money. You won't be on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. So, here we are. No exact numbers on what is enough. Roughly, the happy zone for most people lands somewhere between a solid middle-class income and that Chuck-level moderate fortune. In the U.S., call it $80,000 a year up to about $20 million in assets. A big spread, but the rule holds. Both poverty and extreme wealth can twist you up in different ways. How much is enough for you? No idea. I only kind of stumbled into my own answer. For me, it's well below that $80,000. Just who I am. I got there through van life, which is hardly a universal solution. Probably not even a recommended one. Other folks might come away with a totally different lesson anyway. How about following Marie Kondo's advice? If it doesn't spark joy, toss it. Only apply that to your whole damn life, not just the junk drawer. Might work for you, might not. If I ever figure out some one-size-fits-all trick for estimating your personal enough, I'll write it up. Until then, Proverbs 38 is about as solid as anything I've found. It won't tell you your number, but it'll point you in a saner direction. And if you found your own version of enough, I'd love to hear it in the comments. If you like this, you can tip me on ko-fi.com/Oakie McDoakie or follow me on Substack and the socials. Just go to oakiemcdoakie.com. Until the next time, don't let the bastards wear you down.